Happy to answer any questions about the weekend. Obviously, we're very excited. I'm sure LSU's excited to come here to Columbia. So it should be a great weekend of SEC baseball. We'll be prepared, we'll be ready, and we'll fire away.
Mark, kind of a long one here, but you've coached a lot of freshmen. How do you know when they're ready? Is it ever apparent right away when you first recruit them that they're ready to come in and make an impact, or do you often have to kind of let that, play itself out?
Yeah, I think it always has to let itself play out. I've seen a lot of freshmen come in and have great falls and be not so great in the spring. We call those Fall Americans. I've seen guys struggle in the fall, make adjustments over the winter, and have great spring seasons and everything in between. Obviously, right now you're talking about Petrie. He had a solid fall, nothing great, nothing terrible. He struggled in the preseason, and he made an adjustment, right as the season was starting, and the light went on. And that happens with young players. That's why we look at analytics a lot, but we also have to use the eye test, because when kids are this age, one change can change the whole course of their progress. And so with him, the light went on right as the season was beginning. He didn't start the first 2 days, but you could just see that there was something different going on. And because of his maturity, because of his overall makeup, you knew he could handle it once he started hitting. So very happy with his progress. He just a little bit of a difference in how he was loading to get his swing started, and then just the overall approach of how he wanted to attack the ball.
To your left, Mike.
Mark, there's obviously a ton of buzz around Paul Skeens with LSU and just the video game numbers he's put up so far this year. Just what have you seen from him that makes him so good, and just what kind of challenge does he present for you guys?
Yeah, well, if you were going to design a pitcher in a lab, this is what you'd come up with: big, strong, physical, power arm. Has command, 10-1 strikeout to walk ratio, competitive. He came from the Air Force, so that probably he's got a lot of discipline to how he goes about his business. So I just think that he checks all the boxes of what a dominant power pitcher should be.
Mark, do you know what your rotation is going to look like this weekend?
Yeah, we're not quite ready to release it yet. Again, we want to make sure we know exactly what LSU is doing, and then we'll return in kind.
And I guess, how have you seen Will? Obviously got the weekend off and gets Mississippi State. How has he responded, if he is in the rotation this weekend, to that week off and the work he's been able to do since then?
I mean, I've never seen a downside to giving a guy a chance to reset mentally and physically. It happens in the big leagues, it happens in the minor leagues, it happens in college. Sometimes guys just need a chance to take a step back, and whether it's a hitter, whether it's a pitcher, that can help a player. You clear your mind, you make a couple tweaks if necessary, you're fresher for the next time you go out there on the field. So for all those reasons, I expect him to do well. I mean, how well, we'll see. Again, things don't happen overnight generally, but I think we'll see a really good Will Sanders out there. And I think the rest of the year, when Will Sanders is on the mound for us, we'll have a chance to win.
Back to you, right, John?
I'm going to ask two so we don't have to keep Kent running around the room. First, do you have an update on Noah Hall, how he's feeling? I know he had some back stuff when he came out.
Yeah, we're still working through that process. He's meeting with doctors, having tests, all those things. We don't have anything to announce one way or another at this point, but that is a process that's ongoing.
And with LSU's offense, they've got some guys also putting up video game kind of numbers. What's the first thing that stands out to you about those guys from an offensive standpoint?
Well, they have some very, big-time proven hitters. I mean, again, we said this when we played Georgia. Georgia had two guys hitting 500 at the time we played them. LSU only has one, and I say only in jest. Dylan Cruz is a candidate for National Player of the Year. They added Tommy Tanks to their lineup. Trey Morgan, I've been impressed with him for a long time. They've just got a lot of hitters in that lineup that are proven, that are tough outs, that drive the ball, that get on base. It's a complete offense, and so you're going to have to make pitches against them. You're going to have a game plan. You're going to have to make sure, and we will. Coach Parker, Coach Curran, those guys, as it relates to attacking hitters, do a really good job of coming up with game plans. Our guys, for the most part, have done a nice job executing game plans. So you better have a good game plan against this group, and then you better be able to execute it.
Center, Al.
What was your second question, John? He cut you short. Gotcha.
French was talking last night in Charlotte about just how gritty this team is. He used that word like 3-4 times. What do you see with that, and how much can that help in a kind of a big-time series like this?
I think it's big. Again, you want talented teams, but you also want teams that have discipline, and we throw the word grit around here a lot. And for us, grit just means you're willing to get down and dirty, you're willing to wear a pitch, you're willing to take a ball off the chest if it means keeping the ball in the infield. Grit means you're willing to do the things that it takes to win that don't necessarily look pretty or show up in a box score, but you're just willing to play the game kind of old school in a manner that I think this program has always been known for. You know, this program's been known for pitching and power and all those things, but also this is a program built on blue collar, grit as well. And I think this team is personifying that right now.
Obviously, a lot gets made about Skeens, but the rest of that LSU pitching staff's been putting up some good numbers too. What kind of challenge does the Skeen outside of him that pitching staff present for this offense?
It's like the rest of their team. They're very talented. So again, it's going to be a great baseball series. They're good, we're good, and so let's go play. I mean, that's the way we're looking at it. They're coming into Columbia to play in Founders Park. They have confidence. We have confidence. Let's go play ball.
Going right off that, I guess Jersenbeck after the game yesterday was saying it's not South Carolina taking on LSU, it's LSU taking on South Carolina, just emphasizing that confidence. How do you build that? Where does that come from? I know you talked about it. It's not all built in one day. So
Right.
Where does that come from?
Confidence comes from work. It comes from preparation. It comes from having talent. It comes from having success, so the confidence builds on itself. And, he's a young player, and I don't know how the question was phrased. I know the media, you guys in the media, sometimes can trap a freshman into saying things and giving bulletin board material. That was far from his intent, but I think his answer reflected that we are a confident team, and we should be. They've earned the right to have confidence. When you win 27 of your first 30 games, you should be confident. We also respect every team we play, including the one coming in this weekend, but we will never back down from anybody either. So, again, it's a healthy respect for your opponent, but it's also a confidence in this building.
A very off-topic question for you, if I may. Do you watch Roman Kimball's vlogs? And what made you open to him doing that? And is that something you would see yourself allowing a handful of years ago?
Good question. Are you insinuating I'm getting a little more laid back in my older years, John? I have watched a couple. I have not watched all of them. I have watched a couple. At about midnight when I'm watching YouTube on the couch and everybody in my family's asleep and I've run out of things to watch, and that may be suggested on my YouTube feed on my television at midnight. And so I have watched a couple. I've not watched all of them. I think they're fairly entertaining. I think it's good insight into the dugout and the emotions that you get in there. So I think it's positive. I think it's a positive thing for our program. And look, I hope recruits are watching it so they can see the fun and the togetherness we have as a team. Would I have done it 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Probably not. But again, I think, we've talked at length, I think, of players evolve, coaches evolve, and in 2023, I think I'm getting better at giving our guys a little bit more space, a little bit more freedom within the context and the structure of a good team environment. But I'm more open to letting them have a little more fun probably than I ever have, and I think that's a good thing.
What is on Mark Kingston's YouTube? At midnight, what are we watching on YouTube?
A lot of things. A lot of baseball. There's two really good accounts called Wheels and Mostly Sports where you can watch full college baseball games in a matter of 15 minutes. So I exhaust all of the games that get put up on there just to watch what's going on around the country. I'll probably watch a lot of Miami Dolphins stuff. And those are probably the top two things. And then from there, it could be anything. It could be whatever's suggested to me based on those two starting points.
And Evan and Dylan have gotten run in the outfield the last 4 or 5 games and played pretty well at the plate. What have you seen from them that's allowed them to maybe take that next step from a consistency standpoint, especially at the plate?
I think they've gotten more consistent, and again, as I look at our stats, Stone's on-base percentage now is at .438 and Brewers is at .441. And that's what we emphasize. And so the fact that they're getting on base like that is going to continue to get them run. Dylan Brewer was one of our best hitters last week. And so the challenge for us will be now, as Carson Horning is coming back and probably will be available this weekend, you have Horning, you have Denny, you have Brewer, you have Stone. And you have Petrie. That's 5 spots, really, for 3 outfield spots and a DH spot on the days where Cassis is playing first and Messina's catching. So there's going to be an odd man out there. And we'll probably go with the hottest guy. We'll go with the trends. We'll go with who's swinging the bat best over the last 3 games, 5 games, etc. But it gives us more depth. And so those guys have helped us win games. And I've said in here a million times, if you play well, you'll play more. And Stone and Brewer are playing well.
Braswell's kind of run with that spot at second ever since McGillis got hurt. He had the key plate appearance last night, obviously, with the walk. Where do you kind of think he is now, halfway through his sophomore year, kind of big picture?
I think he's doing a solid job. Again, I think every player, when they look at the stat sheet, evaluates themselves and says, "Can I be doing better? Can I be doing worse?" I think Michael is starting to, get into a rhythm. He's playing really good defense. Which again, with Will McGillis as our starting second baseman being out, you want to make sure, number one, you don't take a step back defensively, and he's played nice defense. And I think the bat's coming along.
Just to clarify, you believe Carson will be available this weekend as a DH or just as a pinch hitter?
Hopefully as a DH.
And I know we're not close to the 4 to 6 week time frame on McGillis, but how's that recovery process coming along with him a couple of weeks since?
I mean, I think he's doing well. He's gone into his second cast now, and that's a good thing. It's a progression. I think he's doing well. He'll get back as soon as he possibly can. But I can't give you a prediction. Whether we're 2 weeks away now or 3 weeks away. It's still too early. Still too early to give you that.
Mark, it appears weather is going to be a factor this weekend. Can you walk us through how this process works as far as your input, LSU's input, where the league comes into play, and especially for these series starting on Thursday, because it seems like that limits a little bit on what you can do?
Yeah, well, it's an exhilarating process, I can assure you, of talking to weathermen and director of ops and coaches back and forth and calling the SEC office to see what can and can't we do. What you try to do is just get the most games in you can in the weekend, and within reason. Obviously, the weather is a challenge this weekend, both in temperature and in precipitation. So. And it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So those all offer unique challenges that we'll just try to do the best we can to get games in. That's, but there are a lot of people involved in that.
How's Jacob Compton doing, and how do you as a coaching staff evaluate if he is available, whether or not to play him and maybe preserve that red shirt?
Yeah, we're right there on the fence still with him. I think because we are now at the midway point, if he plays past this point now, he will lose his red shirt, the ability to red shirt. So he has 1 year of eligibility left as we understand it right now. Now there is an appeal and a waiver process that I won't get in the weeds on that. But as of today, he has 1 year of eligibility left. So with us and with him, there are constant conversations about should we use it this year? Should we save it for next year? At this point, if he were to come back, we'd be asking him to potentially pinch hit, maybe DH, but he hasn't played in a long time, and he'd be jumping a lot of guys that have earned playing time. So we're just considering all those things right now, and when push comes to shove, the best decision for him may be let's not waste an entire season on pinch hitting when you can have a whole year to try to get in the best shape of your life and become a real impactful hitter next year. So we're just continuing to work through all those things. Again, with additional injuries, maybe you go to plan B, but plan A right now is considering those things. All right, appreciate it.